Hey everyone, in this tutorial I wanted to talk about and show you an example of using button sets in Articulate Storyline. Now I'm using 360 but this works in Storyline 2 and 3 just the same. So I've got a slide on the screen here just with 3 buttons, and if I click on each button I'm just showing a layer. I've just put a number on each layer. But that's a fairly common interaction in Storyline, like a tabs interaction, something like that, where you click and reveal. At the moment, though, when I click on the buttons, there's nothing really visually to indicate that this particular button is active, or now the second one, or now the third one, because all the buttons look the same color. So this is where I could use the button sets and put these 3 buttons into a set, and then whichever button has been clicked on will look visually different and indicate that that's the active button. So to set it up, I'll just close the preview down. It's quite simple. And this is what I would call one of the hidden features in Storyline, because you wouldn't maybe know that they were there until somebody points it out to you. So to set up a button set, you select all of your objects. So I'm just clicked on the first one and held down the Control key to select my other 2 buttons. And then what I need to do is right click, and I have an option here of button set. So I like to then create a new button set for these particular buttons, and I'll give them a name. This is the demo button set, and then I'll add that to Storyline. Now, nothing really seems to have happened very much, but when I preview it out now, when I click on each of the buttons, I get this little glow around the edge, and whatever button is active has that glow. And I'll also show you how we can change that. But now the active button looks different. And the beauty of doing the button set was I didn't have to create any additional triggers once I put those 3 buttons into the button set. I have seen people do it where they create more states for the buttons, and then there's triggers to change the state when a button's clicked on, and then change the others back to normal, and it gets quite cumbersome. But the button set makes it nice and easy. Now, if I click on close the preview and go back to my button, and if I go to the state for that button, what's actually happened is when the button was put into the set, a selected state was created. And you might be thinking, well, there's already a visited state, why couldn't I have just used that? And you could have, and changed the color of the visited state. However, the difference between visited and selected is visited is permanent. Once the button's clicked on the first time, it becomes visited. So if it changed color, then all of the other ones would change color as well. Selected is a bit different. It's more of a temporary kind of state. It's only whilst ever that one is selected, it'll stay like that, and then with them in a button set, when it's no longer the selected button, it goes back to normal, and all that triggering's all built in. The only thing that you might have is you might not like the fact that it's just a glow around the edge. So what you can do is you can modify that state either by clicking on the Edit States button and then choosing the selected state, and all you would need to do then is, for this particular button, come up to the Button Tool Format tab at the top. Say I don't like the glow that lives in button effects, I might say no glow, and what I'll do instead of the glow around the edges, I might just change the color of the button to say orange when it's in the selected state, and then say done editing states. Now I could do that for the other buttons, but what I'm going to do, just to save a bit of time, with this button still selected, I'm going to go to the Home tab, I'm going to double click on Format Painter, and then click on my other 2 buttons, and then click on Format Painter again, and that's automatically carried that selected state across to my other 2 buttons. So when we do a preview now, the active button is a completely different color. So it highlights which button, and then that button is obviously related to whatever else is displaying on the screen. So that's one way of using button sets. Another one is I've got an example here where I've inserted some text boxes and radio buttons. You might be just creating some kind of a question and answer type interaction where you just want people to, answer a few questions on the slide. And I'm not using the built-in quizzing slides because the multiple choice, for example, type slides, they kind of use a button set built into it already. But when you're building it all yourself, what can actually happen is I could, read the question and answer and say, okay, that's the answer. And then I might say, oh, I've changed my mind. So I might say, no, oh, but that one's still selected. Then I click on that one, that turns it off. And then oh, change my mind. So the user's either got to know to click on it to turn it off again, or if they wanted to be clever, they could just tick on all of them, and then that kind of does the kind of affects the whole interaction. So this is again where what you could do is you could put each pair of radio buttons into their own button set, and that would allow just one of them to be selected at any one time. So I'll show you on this first one. So again, I click on both of those radio buttons, right click, button set, and I'll go a new set, and I'll just call this one the Q1 set and add. And then I'll do the same for the others. So the second row, right click, button set, new, I'll call this the Q2. And then do the same for the third one. So I'm just selecting the first one, holding down Control. That allows me to select two objects at the same time. And I'll call this the Q3 set. Now when I preview it out, I can only choose one or the other. So it's never going to allow me to have them selected. So again, when you're building your own question type interactions, you can use the button set for that too. So anytime you want to have a group of objects where you only want one of them to be selected at any one time, you can use a button set. Now the name implies buttons. You think maybe radio buttons or regular buttons. You can, however, put images. Again, select your images, right click and put them into a button set. You could do the same with the storyline characters and create your own button sets. But yeah, overall, it's when you would use it when you want to have one of a group of objects being selected at any one time. And the beauty of it too is that I don't need any additional triggers to be changing the states. The button set does all the work for me. Alright, well that's all for this tutorial. I will catch you next time.